She filed an HR complaint against me on a Tuesday morning. By Thursday, she was the one being escorted out of the building by security. But before I tell you how Thursday happened, there is one document she never requested during her 6 months of preparation. One document that would have told her everything she needed to know. I'll show you exactly what it said. In 60 seconds, what you're about to witness isn't revenge. It isn't emotion. It's a compliance trap, sprung by the hand that built it. My name is anonymous. These are the receipts. Every formal HR complaint in corporate America triggers what's called a mandatory independent review protocol. Most HR directors know this exists. Almost none of them have read what it actually authorizes. Here is the document she never requested. Page 47, Section 9, Subsection C. Upon activation of the mandatory independent review protocol, the appointed independent investigator shall have unrestricted access to all internal communications, performance data, and HR administrative records of all parties named in or materially connected to the complaint, including the filing party, for a retroactive period of 18 months. All parties, including the filing party, 18 months. She filed the complaint. She activated the protocol. She handed an external investigator 18 months of her own records. On Tuesday morning, and the person who wrote that clause, the person who spent 14 months designing that exact mechanism, was sitting in the chair being investigated. That was me. 8 years ago, this company had no HR infrastructure, no conduct policy, no disciplinary framework, no forensic architecture. They hired me specifically to build it from zero. I didn't write a policy manual. I built a system, one designed to be impossible to manipulate from the inside. Every clause had a legal rationale. Every mechanism had a specific vulnerability it was designed to close, including the one on page 47. The HR director arrived 18 months ago, imported from a competitor with a mandate to modernize people operations. Translation: eliminate anyone whose institutional knowledge threatened her authority. She had an MBA, a LinkedIn profile with 12,000 followers, and exactly zero understanding of the legal architecture she had just inherited. She read the title page of the manual. She never read page 47, and I was a problem for her. Not because I was underperforming. My division had posted 4 consecutive quarters above target. I was a problem because I remembered everything. Every policy origin, every legal rationale, every clause and why it existed. In corporate environments, institutional memory is either an asset or a threat. She had decided mine was the latter, so she built a case, methodically, professionally. I'll give her that much. For 6 months, the HR director quietly assembled what she called a pattern of toxic leadership behavior against me. Anonymous internal surveys, selectively edited email chains, 3 junior employees she had personally recruited, and whose performance reviews she controlled. 6 months of preparation. She missed one thing: anonymous surveys, edited email chains, 3 identical statements. She built the case like a professional. She just built it on her own company laptop. On a Tuesday in March, I was called into a meeting with the HR director and the general counsel. They slid a formal complaint across the table. Signed, dated, filed through the official system. Her expression was the particular kind of compose that people practice in mirrors. She informed me I would be placed on administrative leave pending investigation. She told me the process was standard procedure. She was right. It was standard procedure. My standard procedure. Written by my hand. Filed under my signature 8 years ago. I read the complaint carefully, all 4 pages. I nodded once. Then I asked one question. Has the mandatory independent review protocol been activated? The HR director looked at the general counsel. The general counsel looked at his notes. He confirmed, yes. Per policy, filing through the official system had automatically triggered the independent review protocol. I said, good. That single word ended her career at this company. She just didn't know it yet. The independent investigator was an external employment law firm with no prior relationship to the company, no internal loyalties, no political considerations, just 18 months of unrestricted access to everything. They began their review Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Every email, every calendar entry, every document edit with metadata, every system login, every file accessed, every performance review touched, every contract approved. 18 months. Both directions. By Wednesday afternoon, at less than 8 hours into the review, the investigator had flagged something in the HR director's administrative records that had absolutely nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me at all. She had been so focused on building a case against me that she never considered what an unrestricted external audit of her own records would find. That was her fatal miscalculation. What the independent investigator found across 18 months of records was a systematic pattern of fiduciary duty breach that would have remained completely invisible under any standard internal HR review. 4 violations, each documented, each timestamped, each worse than the last. Violation 1. She had been routing 2 external HR consulting contracts to a firm co-owned by her former business partner, that without disclosure to the board. Combined contract value $340,000. A conflict of interest. In writing, with wire transfers attached. Violation 2. 3 of the anonymous internal surveys used to build the case against me had metadata showing they were created, edited, and submitted from the same IP address. Her company laptop. Stop. Read that again. The surveys she used to destroy my professional reputation, the anonymous surveys, were written on her own laptop. Her own laptop. Violation 3. The performance reviews of the 3 junior employees who submitted statements against me had each received anomalous upward revisions in the 30 days immediately before the complaint filing. Revisions made personally by the HR director without manager consultation. In direct violation of Section 4 of the manual, Section 4. Page 23. I wrote that one too. Violation 4. And this one carried criminal exposure. She had accessed and copied confidential severance negotiation files for 11 employees who had no active connection to any HR case she was managing. 11 people. Their compensation details, their legal vulnerabilities, their private settlement terms. The legal classification for this activity is wrongful termination, liability, preparation. The less legal term is building a blackmail portfolio. And the independent investigator submitted their preliminary findings to the General Counsel on Wednesday evening at 6:47 p.m. Thursday, 9 a.m. The HR director walked into the building with her usual composure. Badge scan, elevator to the 4th floor, coffee from the executive kitchen. At 9:14 a.m., she was asked to come to the General Counsel's office. At 9:31 a.m., she was informed that the independent investigation had uncovered 4 separate policy violations, 2 potential legal liabilities, and 1 matter being referred to outside counsel for possible criminal review. The complaint she filed against me had just become the most expensive HR document in company history. At 9:47 a.m., she signed a termination agreement. Her badge was deactivated at the door. Security walked her to her car. I was informed of the findings and formally cleared at 10:15 a.m. The General Counsel used the phrase "no basis whatsoever" 3 times in 4 minutes. I returned to my desk. I had an 11 a.m. budget review. I did not miss it. What the HR director failed to understand, what most people who abuse institutional power fail to understand, is this. Systems built by architects cannot be weaponized against the architect without activating every defense mechanism the architect embedded into the design. She didn't file an HR complaint against me. She handed me the keys to an investigation she had no idea was coming. The compliance trap doesn't care who pulls the trigger. It only cares who's standing in the room when it goes off. The 3 junior employees who submitted statements, reassigned to different departments pending their own separate review. The external consulting firm receiving undisclosed contracts, engagement terminated, matter referred to the audit committee. The 11 confidential severance files she copied? Currently the centerpiece of an employment law review that is, as of this recording, still ongoing. Every domino she set in motion is still falling. 4 months after her termination, she sent me a LinkedIn connection request. No message, just the request. I looked at her profile and she had removed this company from her work history entirely. Her headline now read, HR Consultant. People Operations, Organizational Transformation. She was already building the next machine in someone else's company. I declined the request. Then I did something that required considerably more discipline than anything else in this entire story. I forwarded her LinkedIn profile, along with a courtesy copy of the Independent Investigation's executive summary, to the HR directors of the 3 companies currently listed as her active clients. Not out of anger, not out of spite. Professional due diligence. It's covered in Section 11 of the manual. Page 61. The company declared her entire tenure a compliance liability, quietly reversed 3 of her major policy changes last quarter. Then they asked me to review the manual again, update it for current case law. I accepted. I added 1 new clause. Page 51, Section 10, subsection F. In the event that the original policy architect is reinstated following a formal complaint, the architect shall conduct a full retroactive audit of all HR decisions made during the period of their administrative leave. In 8 years of building HR infrastructure, I learned one immutable truth about corporate power. The person who designs the system always understands it better than the person who inherits it. Always. She walked into a building she thought she owned. She activated a process she thought she controlled. She filed a complaint she thought was a weapon. Every single one of those assumptions was wrong. The manual doesn't care about your title. The manual doesn't care about your MBA. The manual only cares about what you did and whether you left a paper trail. She left a paper trail on her own laptop. If this reckoning was satisfying, subscribe. Every week, another chronicle, another system, another architect. One last thing, the HR director thought she was the most dangerous person in that building. She'd never met the CFO's assistant. This is executive reckoning. The office finally hits back.